Hi, my name is Kayla,
And I'm Shruti.
and I'm going to be playing the role of the dietitian counselor who's going to be counseling Anna, who's been referred for having trouble keeping a balanced diet. Anna has a preference for her cultural cuisine, which is not very nutrient diverse, so we are going to help her with that today. Anna, I'm so glad that you could come in today. How's your day so far?
It's been good. We had a slow day at work, thankfully.
That's always nice. What's your occupation?
I'm working my third year as a corporate representative at a tech startup.
Okay, wow, being at a startup, I assume that a lot of work falls on you and your colleagues. Is it super tasking?
Honestly, it's the departments below us that hold everything together. They take care of all the day-to-day operations really well, and it makes us feel like we're really not doing all that much.
That sounds like a solid team you have.
Very much so. How's your day going?
It's good. I'm honestly satisfied with the day so far, especially because the weather is so beautiful out, so I get to sit in my garden today, which I always love.
Yeah, I'm an outdoorsy person as well when the weather is warm.
It's very peaceful, isn't it? So, Anna, are you ready to start?
Yeah, and I also just want to say I'm so glad to be taking this next step with this issue.
Yes, the first step towards eating healthier. I'm glad that you're taking it too. So, if you could brief me, what exactly is your dissatisfaction with your nutritional health?
Well, I feel like I'm always eating the same things over and over, and what I'm eating is not really very healthy. And there's convenience in eating the foods that I am, just because it's what I'm used to, and it's easier to make and it appeals to my taste so much. But I think I'm eating just unhealthy food over and over, and not really having a more balanced meal.
Okay, I see. What is most unhealthy about this diet for you?
I think I eat foods that are very dense in fats and in carbs in high amounts, and definitely not in moderation. And I'm sure I gain more weight due to how I eat now.
Okay, so I hear you saying that the foods that you consume regularly are not healthy to eat so much. So when you say how you eat now, what does this imply about how you used to eat? Is this different than before?
Yeah, in college I had a wider variety of foods just due to where I lived. And I ate at campus dining pretty often, and so I think that made my meals a lot more balanced and regulated and nutrient-rich.
You know, I've had similar clients relay similar concerns about leaving school environments because that's a place that promotes consistent balance in diet. So you're definitely not alone in that. So would you say that the change in environment is all that causes this issue?
It's definitely a major factor. I live near my family, and they supply me with more food than I can even fit in my fridge.
That's a very caring family that you have. So when you say that you're consuming high amounts of food, what makes the amount high? Like, what does this look like?
So I can tell that I'm eating more, not just because of my weight gain, but because as I eat, I'm noticing that it takes more food for me to be full than it used to. When I eat to my stomach's capacity, it just feels like I have eaten more than necessary, even though that's when I fully feel satiated.
Okay, so to make sure I understand, when you seem to eat what is enough, there's still a feeling that you've eaten too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, are there any specific foods that make you feel this way?
Yeah, I eat like pork belly, for example, and I feel like I'm having that too many times a week, and a lot of my cultural comfort foods are foods that are not really something that should be consumed that many times a week.
Okay, yeah, I would agree that sometimes there's foods that you don't want to eat too many times in 1 week, but I do think that it's important to note that you're already knowledgeable on which foods to cut down on, and this is very commendable, and it's definitely going to help us alleviate this issue together.
That's so great to hear, thank you.
Of course. So I want to ask, how do you feel about eating healthier? How obtainable does it feel to you as a goal?
Um, I feel positive about what it could do, but I currently I'm not sure where to start. My current diet is just so firmly worked into my schedule, so it's been tough to transition into a new diet, especially without a first step.
Yeah. What is your access to the food in your current diet like?
It's very accessible. It's always in my fridge, it's pre-made, or it's easily cookable, and down the streets or at the markets are all owned by people of the same culture. And my parents' house is right down the street, and so if I'm ever low on anything, they come and they stock my fridge up for me.
Wow, okay, so from what I'm hearing, there's a large convenience aspect to this.
Definitely.
All right. That being said, I would also like to ask about your preferences. Do you eat the food that's most accessible to you only for the convenience, or do you prefer these foods?
So that's the toughest part. I love the food of my culture a lot. They are comfort foods, especially the carb and fat heavy ones.
Comfort foods. You know, it can be hard to let go of what our taste calls for. What does this dilemma make you feel? Does it make it harder?
Yeah, I think I just mostly feel restless because I know that there's a way to eat healthier, but my days just get so busy and they blend into one another. And it feels like I just don't have enough time to switch from my regular diet to something that would be better for me. But I know I do have that time, and I don't know, I just feel really restless.
Being comfortable in a habit, even if it's a bad habit, is completely normal. This step that you're taking now is what's most important. All right, well, in total, we've gone over that you have a preferential tendency towards your cultural foods, but it's towards the ones that you maybe shouldn't eat so much, and they're comfort foods, and that's why you are inclined to them. And additionally, eating healthier is something that seems hard to attain, as it feels that it would require a large change from your already hectic schedule and your pattern of meals. Despite all of this, however, you have all of the intention to eat healthier and improve your health.
Yeah, I mean, that about covers it all.
I really appreciate your transparency and your honesty, because that is going to continue to strengthen how effective our counseling is for you.
Of course.
All right, I want to ask, have you ever heard of meal prepping?
I believe so, like making meals days ahead of time.
Yeah, and it can be any amount of days. It's just usually supposed to be a meal that you prepare within the same week that you're going to eat the food. Is this something that you've considered before or ever tried?
Kind of. I mean, I have pre-made food from my parents a lot, and that's a common occurrence at my house.
Okay. Does having already prepared food make your days any easier, harder? Do you have a specific way that you feel about making food in advance?
Yeah, having already prepared foods is fine with me overall.
That's great, because going forward, how well do you think you would pair with a light meal prep plan, focusing on the days that you're most free in the week?
I think I would be open to discussing that further.
All right, so what I'm visualizing here is maximizing your most free days of the week to put your intentions into action. So what do your free days of the week usually entail?
Honestly, I think Saturday is my most free day of the week,
Mhm.
but Saturday is just a day that I take advantage of the time I have to relax, tend to my living needs, my living space, get chores done, all of that.
Well, that sounds like a nice decompress. What does your living space consist of?
So I have plants in my reading room that all need weekly maintenance. There is like tidying of the living room, and I'm always in my living room, and so there's like blankets on the floor and stuff I gotta clean up. But I think what takes the largest chunk of my Saturday is doing laundry, because I have a lot of clothes that I can't put in the machine, like they're just too delicate for the machine.
Yeah.
And so Saturday ends up being a like hand wash my clothes day.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely relate. That sounds nice, though. I wanted to ask if there's any hours of the days that end up just empty. Are there times that you feel bored on Saturdays?
Yeah. Usually like when my friends and family are busy or like they've just left and my chores are done for the day, then yeah, there's definitely empty hours.
That's nice. So how would you feel about planning grocery trips into your empty hours, or perhaps planning to have empty hours for each Saturday?
Yeah, that would be good. And I think mornings would be the most ideal time for me since I wake up early anyway.
I'm really glad that we can put this time in place for you and that you have mornings empty. So do you think that maybe this plan could benefit from having visual structure?
Yes, but like what did you have in mind?
So I was thinking that we can put together some week at a glance sheets, if that would interest you. How do you feel about things like planners or calendars that can be written on?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't used them since I was back in college. But yeah, I think I would love that because I'm a person that's a lot more organized when I have written structure.
Okay, well, how would you like for the planning sheets to be ones that keep written reminders that Saturday mornings or any empty hours of those days are designated for trips to this grocery store specifically? So you'd plan to get meals similar to the ones that you used to eat, because I believe that the familiarity of having a healthier diet that you used to have could uptick the chance of you continuing with this plan.
Yeah, that sounds great. Though I do worry that I would be tempted to buy ingredients just for my cultural comfort foods more than anything else.
You know, I understand that this is an obstacle to be considerate of ahead of time, and that's a good observation that I'm glad you pointed out. I do want to point out, though, that all things are okay to eat in moderation. So putting elements of foods that you already enjoy into alternate recipes, it could even create a fun spin on this transition for you.
Yeah, well, in that case, this might be a good direction.
Yeah, all right. And additionally, I want to ask about your non-food comforts. So is there any way that you like to treat yourself that doesn't involve eating?
Yeah, there's an antique store down the street from where I live, like from my loft. And yeah, I love buying like trinkets, anything for my house, and whenever I go there, I end up spending way too much, and so I've been trying to limit it just to special occasions.
Completely understand. Yeah, how about incentivizing your progress by promising yourself a trip to the antique store every now and then, just for the consistency that you keep up with the plan?
Yeah, I think that'd be so exciting. I always love collecting extra pieces for my house.
I am the exact same way sometimes. Additionally, if it would be of interest to you, how about planning the recipe you wish to try before going to the store on these days? I think that could bring another fun aspect to things, because it might then begin to feel like a hobby.
Yeah, I honestly am hopeful with that plan, because I think that would work well for me because I'm a planner anyway.
You're a planner,
I also think it would help decrease like anxiety and just feeling overwhelmed when I'm at the grocery store with all the options and not knowing what to buy and all of that too.
Yeah, I also believe that this could be a good direction to start with for you. Well, what questions do you have for me?
So meal prepping, does it focus on just one meal, or do I meal prep for the entire week just on Saturday? Like, what exactly does meal prepping on Saturdays, like, what would that look like?
Yeah, so I think starting small and gradually building up would be the best start for you. So on Saturdays, you could choose one meal to make for, say, Monday and Tuesday. For example, you could make your Monday and Tuesday snack or your Monday and Tuesday lunch.
Okay. Yeah, I can see myself doing just a few meals at a time to get started. I do have another question, though.
Yeah.
So what is that building up process like? Like, gradually increasing? What would that look like?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. So the general idea of this plan is to set a pattern of healthier food and then see how much it can grow, kind of like planting. So once you've been able to go a few weeks with one or two of your healthier meals, you try to work it up to 4 meals or 6 meals in the weeks upcoming.
Okay. I mean, I think I'm up for the challenge, but how will I know when to increase the meals, like how many I'm making or which ones I'm making? Have you had like clients with like a similar like plan, and do you know anything about like how they knew when to switch to a healthier option?
I definitely understand your uncertainty. That is also a great question. So what I would say is that slow and easy may be much better than fast and hard for this. So what I mean by this is making the transition from less healthier meals to more healthier meals. It doesn't have to be a drastic turn. The more gradual you go along, the better. It doesn't have to jump from 2 meals to 8 meals. It can work its way up with 1 more meal every few weeks.
Okay, that makes sense. I do think that this is gonna be hard. I think it'll be challenging, but I think it's worth the try.
I'm definitely confident in you, Anna, and this is going to be fulfilling for you.
I appreciate your support. Thank you. I also wanted to ask if you prefer to purchase planners at like a specific place.
Oh, I love Daiso because they have this wide selection of stuff. They have a big variety. I used to purchase my office supplies there all the time. They have a bunch of stuff.
Okay. I think I've heard of them. I'll make sure to check there.
Awesome. So there's one more thing. There's this structuring of goals that we find helpful for people that I think would be good to take on here. Have you heard of SMART goals?
I think so.
Yeah, so it helps set a goal to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, so SMART.
Okay.
And it's beneficial because it puts focus in creating a goal that's practical and focused. So if you'd like to fill out this sheet, it is going to help you lay out the objective in a concise way that really strengthens the intentionality of this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think I'm done.
All done? All right. Why don't we walk through what you've got down together?
Yeah, so I made a plan saying that I would meal prep 2 meals a week and gradually increase it to 4 meals a week by the end of a 4-week period.
I see. That sounds great. It really sounds like you'll be set up for success. And I will make sure to email you a copy of this form following the appointment, but
Okay.
Anna, I have to say this is a very promising outlook that we have established for you, and I'm very confident that you will improve your nutritional health in due time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for entrusting us to help you. So let's set up a follow-up appointment for you in about a month,
Okay.
and when that happens, we can regroup and discuss our next steps for you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kayla, and this is the reflection for the counseling session, the post-counseling session reflection video. So I'm just gonna address our discussion questions. I will say I found doing this counseling session for this project very insightful, just because I was able to see that even with simulating a conversation, I was still able to have genuine conversation ability through talking to the client, whose name is Anna. Being in the role of the counselor, and being that I did write out a script as we were supposed to do, I did feel challenged by writing out a conversation that flowed naturally. I wasn't sure if it was going to as I was writing the script, even though I was trying my best to make it as so. And then whenever we began filming and we began actually talking, I felt like I was having a real conversation. So it was insightful in the way that I learned that this type of opening up of a person where it's more like counseling than it is just a regular conversation between friends, even if I'm simulating a situation like that, because I wrote from a place where I actually would want the role of the counselor, to be reaching the person in the way that I would try to if I were the counselor. It made it to where I felt like I was actually talking to the client, even though this was just a simulated conversation. So it was insightful in that way, and I really enjoyed doing this project. As far as the counseling strategies that I implemented as the counselor, I did make sure to repeat the client's own words back to them, and also repeat their words back to them in my own words. And I did both of them just for full comprehension on both people's ends, and, just so that I'm leveling with them to show understanding of what they're saying, because they just heard what they said. But if I repeat it back to them, they are absolutely sure that I heard what they said and that I understood it. They're sure that I heard it when I repeat their words back to them, and then they're sure that I understood it when I repeat it in my own words. So there's that assurance of comprehension, like that we're right there with each other. Another strategy that I implemented that I was glad to be able to practice in class was empathizing through verbalizing recognition of the client's struggles. So as they're mentioning them, making sure to say why I, as the counselor, believe that the obstacle that they brought up has validity, because then there's no question that we have capacity in this space, in this counseling space, to honor all of the client's feelings, even the negative ones. So when Anna mentioned that there's one specific aspect of the intervention plan going forward that she finds challenging, I say, I fully see why you've brought up this obstacle. This is definitely something that should be considered, because da 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 da. And I'm glad that you brought that up. That was a good observation. So just making sure that the client knows that. There's also resonating with the hopeful outlooks of the client. Like, if they say that they're confident about one specific aspect of the plan, the counselor is like, you know what, I'm confident about that part too, because you told me this about yourself. So I kind of see that part fitting, because of what you've told me about you. And, that's why it's been suggested. So glad about that. If I could redo the counseling session, I would definitely improve on asking questions back to questions. When someone asks a question, and there's like a long explanation ahead, once you're done with the explanation, I think it's good to make sure to dig a little bit deeper and ensure that you've answered in a way that their understanding is like they've actually grasped it. So if Anna asks a question, I would have liked to have been like, so did I answer your question? Like, were you more asking about this, or did you mean like this? Because what I addressed in my answer was this, but I also want to make sure, like, do you think it would be confusing to also remember this part? Is there something that I can, just for the sake of time, we weren't really able to do that, because by the questions section, we were almost at 15 minutes, but, or we are already past 15 minutes. But that's something that I would like to improve on if I could redo the counseling session. A part of the counseling session that I definitely found challenging was probably the small talk, just because it's done in a way to where you kind of just have to assume that the questions that you're asking are okay with the other person to answer, but I don't do that in real life. I do just let people bring up what subjects that they're okay with speaking about, and then I go off of that. But a way that I overcame it was to let some parts of the conversation naturally flow towards an opportunity to have small talk. So what I mean by that is not all the small talk was in the beginning of the conversation.
there was some small talk in the middle because our conversation would have naturally flowed towards that. So there was a part of the script where we got to what Anna does on her free days, and then she said that she tends to her living space. So the counselor was like, oh, what does your living space consist of? Like, what all happens when you tend to your living space? And Anna was like, well, I water my plants in the reading room, and then I tidy up the living room since I'm always hosting people there, and stuff like that. So I was able to overcome the obstacle of the small talk being difficult by just letting the conversation naturally flow towards it. As far as collaboration, me and my partner, I believe we worked very well together. My partner was very proactive with any errors or any little thing that we could fix and improve on. And there were no communication issues or barriers with the person that I was working with that I felt negatively impacted the project. I felt that we worked together very well because we both wanted good quality for the counseling session, for the conversation ability. There were some things that we would change right after we filmed because we'd be like, I felt that this part could have been better, and then we would fix it right there. We would add it to the script and then keep going. That's something that I appreciated from the person that I was working with, and I believe that we meshed well as far as how we both approached the project. And as far as the entire experience, I feel like I gained knowledge about myself as far as how I might be inclined to get people to open up. I used to think that I wasn't really the type to ask people to open up unless they're comfortable doing so, but I did realize through this project that there's a way to do it that isn't too invasive or isn't necessarily inappropriate. There were a lot of questions that I asked Anna that they seemed to really, because of the way that I was asking them, the way I was phrasing them, my nonverbal cues, like my facial expressions, even my tone of speech, they came out as questions that I didn't feel were wrong to ask at all. They actually seemed to not only be received well by my partner, who was following the script, of course, but they sounded like they would be received well if I was asking them in real life, because they definitely had that genuine inquiring about them. So that made me feel better about how I might small talk with people in real life and how I might get people to open up, because I usually would avoid doing that. But after doing this, I feel that I'll probably be more confident in doing that going forward if I ever want someone to open up to me. And yeah, I guess I would really like to learn more about how nutrition counselors come about the strategies that they lean on the most. Like, was it from trial and error, or is it just about the type of person that they are? Do they bring that to the table in a counseling session? And yeah, that's my reflection